Okay, so today's deadlift session, it is obviously starting off with deadlifts, funnily enough, then go hack squat and then a press and pull variation. Again, like the last workout, is very, very simple, but it usually with the deadlifts, there's a lot more due diligence, so like 15-20 minutes of prep beforehand. I'll explain further in the video why I choose deadlifts and the thought process behind the program design behind it, but for me it's just a core movement that I love so much, which is why I have to respect it. So when I say respect it, it's like prep for it properly and make sure your body is well primed prior to doing anything heavy. Deadlift warm-ups, so deadlifts on the agenda today. I really like this movement. Just for stretching all the adductors, inside groin muscles. I think they're very fascial in my opinion, so there's a lot of fascia there because it's very, very robust. Long story short, if these muscles or this area has a good length tension, so basically if you have the ability to do this movement, it's going to help you with your hip flexion, so basically hinging and squatting. So this is kind of like a lock and key movement for compound movements. So if you're doing any type of lifting and you start to notice that your hips feel very tight going out to the side like this, that's the indication that it can be pulling on the lower back, or there's more greater potential for injury. So this is how I warm up for a deadlift session. Last of the warm-ups. Warm-ups, what I do is go double overhand. So with grip, with deadlifts, you can typically do mixed grip, which is like in powerlifting. You can do double overhand, which is like this. So you can do hook grip, where you hook your thumbs underneath. This is double overhand, so the grip is just round, grab, and crushing it. What I do is work up to singles with absolutely nothing, doubles with absolutely nothing, but that was a single just because I know if I do another one I will tax my grip too much. Then I'll do working sets with chalk, which is going to be one working set of 2 today, and then I'll do 2 working sets with straps. So thought process behind this is that basically I absolutely love doing deadlifts, and I keep them in because it's a foundation strongman movement. I really do enjoy them, but over the years I've done my back in several times doing them, just from not warming up properly, improper technique, going too heavy, all the usual stuff. But like I say, in terms of, I think it's very, very important that there are elements of your program that you just really do enjoy. And it's not just all about maybe like what is optimum. In terms of what is optimum, is this the best hypertrophy builder for glutes and your lats or your back? Probably not. It builds up a very, very robust spine. That's for sure. Risk rewards for some people just aren't there. So they say don't be married to movements. I definitely say, hey, I'm with this one. I do it because I enjoy it. I would say there's probably parts of me, as in like physically, which are suited to it. Maybe longer arms, definitely. Torso, probably not, and femur length, probably not, because they can be disadvantageous in terms of sending your hips far back. But yeah, biggest mistake I made with this one, by far, I've said this on podcast before, when I first started deadlifting, I'd do like 60 kilos, 100 kilos, and then after 100 kilos I put straps on. I never got that ability to get that crushing strength with the bar, so really squeeze and learn that. But then got into strongman, and because I bypassed that period of time, as in like when I should have been developing really good gripping strength, I just relied too much on straps where I'd like triple loop it, so I'd literally attach myself to the bar. So because I may compete again in strongman, but just purely for fun. But I deadlift now because I enjoy it, and I don't really focus too much what's on the bar. It's just what I need to do to progress. So yeah, what I'll do is 1 week I'll do 80% of the sets with no straps at all, so just chalk. And then the next week I'll do whatever I need to in order to hit the numbers, and then putting the straps on. But when I say whatever I need to hit the numbers, I purely mean what's safe. You know, I'm not going to be, if it's not there, it's not there. I used to have it where if it was on the piece of paper, if it was in the program, it had to be lifted come what may, and I've gone past that now, because it's not an enjoyable way to train. So yeah, it is important to progress, but it's also important to enjoy your training, and this is a movement that I get a lot of enjoyment from. Okay, so that was 175, so 175 for a double. Body weight was just under 82 kilos this morning. It's a funny one because last week I did my volume of 4 sets of 2 with no straps, 170. So it's about seeing what's there. So that is a PB, 175 for a double. Double overhand is a PB for me, but that was a 9 out of 10, probably close to a 10 out of 10 in terms of reps in reserve with no straps. There was definitely no way there was a third rep there. It was a bit of a not soft lockout, like I managed to lock it out and feel like I held it, but it was with the compromised technique. So where I do this weight wise is in my head. I had it where it was going to be 175, then put straps on, 185, 195. Based on that, I'm not going to go 185. I'm going to go 182 with straps, and then just see how that one feels. And this is like, again, I don't want to be too attached to what's the numbers. You know, this week of traveling a lot more, work volume is very high, and variables change. So, you know, if you're watching this and you do deadlift, squats, any kind of compound movements, what I think is really, really important is just don't get too obsessed with what you're going to be doing in your head before you go into the gym. Sometimes I'll come in and that will feel like a warm-up. Sometimes I'll come in, that will feel like my 1 rep max. And you just got to appreciate that your body changes from day to day, and you shouldn't put pressure on yourself. But yeah, I'm happy with that. 175 is pretty decent. It's what I came here to do without any straps today. But based on how difficult that is, I'm going to just go 180 with straps next. That was hard, and that's basically why I like deadlifting so much, because you can't get away from it. You can't, you know, machines. You know, in terms of hypertrophy, machines are so much better. They're probably safer. You align yourself more, set yourself up more. Not everyone's built to deadlift from the floor. Not everyone should. But what I love about that is you've got this thing in your brain where it's saying, do you want to lift it or don't you want to lift it? And it's how much tension you can create. You have to squeeze as hard as you can. You have to keep your shoulders tight. You have to keep your midsection tight. You have to push the ground away, and you have to really fight so you don't just whack your hips up and then drag it up, which is what I used to do. So it's more of the mental aspect of it. And when you're there and you find that biting point where you really have to push through, you just have to really put the effort in. But yeah, so I had 195 in my head today for a double with straps. That was 185, so 10 kilos lower. But as you saw, There was not any more left. If I'd gone for another one there, I probably would have A, hurt myself, or B, if I'd got it, would have sparked myself out from a nervous system point of view. So the exercises after this would have been lower quality. I probably wouldn't have been able to perform, you know, later on in the week. But I've also got a busy day ahead of me treating clients. So the last thing I want is a dodgy back when I'm over a table for 8 hours. So yeah, in regards to the movement, whether deadlift should be in your plan or whether you think that it's a good movement for you, it just totally depends on so many different factors. But I wouldn't say everybody is built to do them, nor do they have to be in a program. But like I said, I just love that feeling of, oh my god, I've got to really put some effort in now, and it's like you versus the bar, if that makes sense, which is very corny, but it's true. Second exercise, hack squat. So things with deadlifts is it's whole body tension, but I think one thing you can neglect is that the lactic acid aspect, so where your muscles feel like they're really building up tolerance, and the amount that you use your quads in a deadlift is down to, definitely the way you're built, definitely the size of limbs, but it's also about strengthening certain qualities. And the reason why I think that why people's hips will shoot up when they're doing an exercise, or doing a deadlift, is because the quads aren't strong enough, but eccentrically, so basically in the lengthen. So this is essentially, if you look at the joint angles, a deadlift position, but there's no load going directly, the load is going through my spine or running parallel to my spine downwards, not in an extension position. So it's not as much going, obviously there's compressive forces going into the spine down in that direction, but not making me extend backwards. So it's a little bit better for it in that way in the spine. But the idea with this one is that because I want to get stronger with maximal weights on the deadlift or lower reps, I'm going to do the same here, so I'm replicating that. So I've done a set of 10, and now this is going to be a set of 6. I'll explain through what we're doing. So the idea here is making sure that eccentrically it's just loading, all the quads stay on and pushing off, and I get a really even contraction between both quads. Only doing 6 reps, but sorry. So basically, it's eccentric focus, so slowing it down. And what I want to make sure is I can really feel the quads taking the load, but both sides, because it's so easy to just bounce out of these and you're pushing through one leg more than the other. But with this one, on the way down, I'm thinking, where do I need to position my body? How do I need to push through my feet in order to feel my left just as much? The wedge is because, first of all, if I push down through my heels like that, I'm locking this joint into position, whereas my toes being here means I can move and what's called internally and externally rotate, invert the foot. And that's massive because I've just compressed the hell out of that heel bone on the deadlifts, and now I have that freedom of movement in the ankles. It also increases length tension in the back of the calves, which helps with dorsiflexion, helps knees going forward, and so forth. The pause is really, really important. It's so important. Easiest, most important tip for hypertrophy is pause and create a muscle contraction. And then finally, you can see back there, there's no reverse band because the emphasis is on the quads. Me personally, I think that when you reverse band squatting patterns, you're making it more of a hip bias movement than a quad one, regardless of how much the knees go forward. Because if you think about it, if it gets easier as the knees are going further forward, that's the whole point of the exercise, is that as the knee gets further away from the line of force and so forth, it should be more challenging. So yeah, do really like this one. Good for leg development. I personally feel it was a good transfer for deadlifting off the ground, and it's hard, so yeah. So doing it from the pins, reason for this is that if you think about it, if you're in a overhead press position with a barbell, you're always dealing with however much you can hold in that position there. So you've got a lot of strain on forearms, a lot of strain on your shoulders and your lower back. If your goal is to put size on just this area, so shoulders, chest, whatever, you want it to just be as efficient as you can. Now, with barbell presses and movements, I was very, very strict on those a lot. Like, so they're the foundations, they're the basics. And I'm not saying that they're not, but the risk reward behind them in terms of what you need, it just isn't there for me. As in, there's such other greater demands on the body that actually takes away from the stimulus you're getting for your shoulders and your chest anyway. So with this one, because I don't have to worry about the eccentric, because I can literally drop it, I can just go as heavy as I like. And for me, that's had a massive benefit on shoulders, chest, and not beating up my lower back, not beating up my neck. If I wanted to then making it functional, so if I, for example, wanted to compete in a strongman competition, the stronger I can get this, the greater the ceiling for me to actually push. So I've got a stronger, higher capacity to press. So then I just transition to doing barbell presses or log. But whilst that's not on the cards, I'm just using this. It is like a mid-range for me, so I'm just going from there to there, but that's fine, because what I'll do with other movements is get the end range here and the end range there through just different exercises in the plan. So that's the thing, every exercise should have a specific purpose, and if the purpose is to build muscle, you want to safely target at joints in the mid-range, going as heavy as you can. So that's the end of the session. Same as last one was 3 exercises, that was 4. I do just prefer keeping it simple in terms of exercise selection. Might change things around a bit next couple of weeks, adding a bit more in. I'd usually finish with 10 minutes of cardio. I can't today because of work commitments and starting a bit earlier. But the main thing is with that session went really, really well. But that's what I would call like a overload session, intensification session, so forth. So very, very challenging, so I could push myself, but with the deadlift, I'm going to increase the reps just slightly, increase the volume and back off quite a bit. So make it not as challenging in terms of the exertion, because you can't just go balls to the wall every single session, you have to back off. So really, really pleased with that session, but going forward now, next week, or next couple of weeks, it's back off, increase the reps, increase the volume a little bit, make things a little bit smoother, and then just look to keep progressing. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you really enjoy the videos, make sure you hit subscribe. Cheers.